Hello automators, thanks for tuning in again. This video is intended to help you make better decisions in the coming year. And there's lots of prediction videos out there, but what I'm trying to do is actually use some of the insights that I have into the industry of smart home and home automation and what I've seen in the past as a predictor to the future. So I'm trying to help you make the right choices here in 2019. We're gonna have a little fun in this video, of course, but let me give you my predictions for 2019 in the smart home and home automation space. Let's get going. Now, a few of these are going to be pretty obvious, but let's start with what I think is the most obvious one. Google is going to build out their business service business, and the reason this is so obvious is what they're doing with Duplex. The first salvo with Duplex was basically, let's create reservations in businesses, and the second salvo has been the ability for businesses to go into a service like Google Maps and through their Google Business account to enable whether or not they will accept calls from Duplex. Now, what this means for 2019, in my opinion, is we're going to see some connected services for businesses. So businesses are going to be able to receive those reservations, as well as you as the consumer are going to be able to make those reservations. Now, it doesn't stop there in 2019. I think, again, we've seen the consumer side where they're able to make purchases through certain Google Assistant skills or actions there. You're able to make some purchases with some very specific vendors. What you haven't been able to do is actually have that other piece of the transaction be handled and basically give you updates on package all through Duplex. So, biting into Amazon's world in a bit of a backdoor way here, Google will, with their partners, we've seen them partner with Walmart and Best Buy, we'll see them really partner with a number of these retailers and handle lots of the processing for them of these orders and the management of those orders through their system. So you're going to see Duplex build into a business AI machine. So this is a bit of a wild prediction, and I'll admit there's not a lot of basis out on the market right now. The reason I'm saying this is going to occur is, simply put, there's nothing out there, and Google has a history of ensuring that everyone has a platform to build off and that platform is theirs. So what I'm talking about here is Google will release in 2019, and I think this is going to be kind of mid 2019, a platform for smart home and home automation and industrial automation to build off of. And what this means is Zigbee and Z-Wave protocols are going to start their decline. And you know what? Zigbee and Z-Wave, we've all relied on them for a few years, and what I'll say is they're falling a little bit behind. And the other problem is the 2.4 gigahertz, the Wi-Fi in your home cannot necessarily manage all of these devices, or we're going to struggle. And we know Google already has their mesh Wi-Fi platform. It would be very simple for them to build that IoT platform either into those devices as a firmware upgrade, or build new devices that have that IoT platform and really unite everyone under one umbrella that, again, is their umbrella. And that ultimately, I think, Google, if they're building out the business side here and they're building out the IoT, which again, that means they're going to release products under this platform relatively soon in 2019. And that's why I think we haven't seen the Z-Wave hub be enabled in the Google Home devices. I just don't think they're buying into those technologies as being the be-all end-all for their system, for their platform. So a couple now quick things about Google still, and then we're going to move on to some of the other home automation platforms here. Number one, Nest is going to follow the Google model. So I think we're done with the really high-end releases from Nest. We'll see a few more because I'm sure they have some of those products in the pipeline, but ultimately Nest is going to fall in line now. We saw the CEO get let go earlier this year, and ultimately I think he was standing in the way of deeper integration with the Google platform, and ultimately, following the Google model, which is put a device in every part of the home. So they don't just want one device in your home that's very expensive, which is kind of the Nest model. You can't afford 10 of those Nest IQ cams, but ultimately you could afford 5 or 6 Google Home Minis. So we'll see Nest fall in line. Now the next thing, and this pairs a little bit with Google Duplex, this is the processing power that they're giving you there. The routines functionality right now, as far as I'm concerned, they are so far behind Amazon, and they know it, and they're going to fix it. And what they're going to fix it with is Duplex. Now, Duplex will allow them to create completely customized routines with multiple triggers and or multiple conditions. So one thing that we haven't seen here yet, and this kind of goes to industrial automation and automation in software in general, or just software in general, what you can have is you can have a trigger, but then you can test conditions. And that's one of the things we've been missing from a lot of these platforms and these software, just these software platforms. They haven't been able to use conditions. So, we're going to see that capability with Duplex, with the Assistant, with your Google Homes, and a completely customized capability for routines. And we already have the ability to use any statement inside of a routine from Google, but what we still can't do is trigger a routine off of something happening. And that's because I believe behind this all is a much bigger release for how home automation is going to work. So I think you can see that Google is relatively building to a couple of major releases again, and I'm sure we're going to see that at Google I/O, which this year I hope to be at physically. So, Google I/O is going to come, and I think we're going to see a bunch of those releases, but for now we're going to move on to some of those other smart home makers, builders. We're going to leave Amazon towards the end of the video here because they have more partnership and intermixing with other companies that I want to talk about. But moving on to Apple, and we've seen the HomePod come out, and there's been mixed reviews about that device. I mean, audio quality is unbelievable. Its ability to answer is actually a lot better than I think people give it credit for. And so Apple has a platform that a lot of people I think would really like, and the integration with iPhones and iPads is really strong. There's Apple TV integration that's actually really good as well. So, they have a lot here to offer, but what they've done is, in pure Apple style, they went out and tried to charge $400 for their device, and we're talking US here. So, here in Canada it's 450 Canadian, I think it's 350 in the US, but it's a crazy number for people to jump into home automation. And so everybody and their mother has been saying mini HomePod, mini HomePod, mini HomePod. That's not what I see for 2019. What I see is following suit with a smart display. And the reason I say that is you think about the iPad platform and the amount of people who have an iPad in their home. Now, you can do conversions if they want. That's not Apple's style. What I see them doing is releasing an iPad style smart display in 2019 in a couple of different styles with a focus on home automation, IoT, but still all of the capabilities of an iPad. And if you think about how powerful that platform would be, it just becomes a stationary iPad, but able to control all of your Apple devices, all of your HomeKit enabled devices, and that's what I see coming. So I don't see something that's cheaper, I see something that's more expensive. And that's kind of the way Apple's been going with their iPhones anyways. So I think that's actually a pretty safe prediction, not necessarily the way people were expecting Apple to go with creating a mini version of their speaker. So moving on to some of these other home automation makers, you know, we have Samsung hanging out there with their Samsung SmartThings platform. That needs a full refresh. They released their V3 and their new application is coming and it has great functionality, but what's the point when Amazon routines are as good as they are and Google's routines are going to be as good as they are? Bixby dies on launch, essentially. You know, it's been launched. Bixby's dead in 2019. I'm sorry, Samsung, you're too late. You're not going to be able to keep up here. So, you know, Bixby dies, but what's funny, and this is probably the interesting prediction for people, Cortana lives on. And why does Cortana live? Because they've partnered with Amazon, and this is where we start talking about Amazon and their partnership. So Amazon is not going to quit. Number one, they are in this in for the long haul. They're in for a penny. They're in for 1,000 pounds. You know, and what they've done with Microsoft is they've started this really, really deep partnership, and we're already seeing Echo products being sold inside the Microsoft store. So what does that mean? What's Microsoft's gain from this? Obviously, there's going to be a little bit of revenue and profit from selling Amazon's products in their stores, but what's the other side of this? And so Cortana has to be a piece of this, and ultimately the Office connected services there, that whole platform has to be used. So for me, Cortana becomes the business component of the Amazon voice assistant, and it also becomes the horsepower, some of the horsepower behind processing some of these requests. And we've seen the latest email integration, and we know Microsoft has this big business component, and so Amazon's going to get more and more people for Microsoft into Office 365, into Microsoft's whole business platform. The small business owner, they're going to target people like me. So this is hard to explain in terms of a prediction, but ultimately Cortana becomes the business component of Amazon's business. So this year, 2018, we saw Amazon put out, I think the number was 21 different products, and that's 21 different Echo products or Fire products that came out and were home automation. And we saw everything from a microwave, which people laughed at, you know, to a wall clock that is now on the market, to the input, to the auto, all of those new devices. And you can see that branch out from Amazon trying to own a little piece of everything in your home in different ways than just a smart speaker. So Amazon is going to continue that. It's 40 to 50 products we're going to see this year. And so with a prediction like that, what I have to do is give you a few examples. So, you know, we have the Amp, we have the Sub now, and we have the Fire TV Cube and the Sticks. All of those are home entertainment systems, and they all are going to have to play nice by the end of 2019, or people are going to feel confused. Now, some things work, some things don't, but one of the things that Amazon sells, for example, is a lot of DVDs and a lot of Blu-rays and a lot of digital media, of course. Now, they're going to put out a Blu-ray player or slash DVD player, and that's going to be an Echo player, and it's going to have the ability to work with all of these devices, all of those devices that I just mentioned, and it all has to be working by the end of 2019. They want to own your entertainment center, and they're working very, very hard to beat everyone else to the market on it. Now, moving on to a second space in your home that I think Amazon is trying to win a lot of your business within, that is the kitchen. And the kitchen's a lot harder to kind of go and say, okay, well, we're gonna make an Amazon Echo toaster, because not necessarily everybody has their toaster plugged in all the time. And, you know, a blender, those kinds of things. These are much harder devices to get people to think, well, I would like a connected device. So there are a few things that I think are connected all the time that Amazon is after. And everyone laughed at the microwave. They thought, that's silly. Why would I want that? GE actually produced one earlier this year, if you'll remember. A couple of people have, or a couple of businesses have identified that this is really important. And this space is really important, rather. Now, what I think we're going to see, and what Amazon has already identified in my mind, is that you have to attack those things that are connected all the time. So the microwave is one of those, the oven is another, the dishwasher, the refrigerator. So Amazon has that Amazon Basics line that they're going to release these under with Echo integration. So I think we're going to see Amazon hit big time in the appliance market, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them partner with someone on this. Call it the Amazon Basics / Frigidaire, or I don't know what you're going to call it, but I think we'll see them partner with someone who's really good at building these appliances. The laundry room's another place where they'll build a couple of those and release those in probably late 2019. One other device that I think we're all dying for is a coffee maker. Why can't I make a coffee maker in 2019 in an automated way without it being the old drip kind? I don't want that. Come on, guys. So I think we're going to see Amazon build one of those, and it's going to be a relatively automated thing, and when you run out, I bet it orders you more coffee. A couple more predictions here about these other companies that are out there. They're kind of hanging out there, they're touching into the home automation space, but they're not really, you know, full on in. And one of the things is the little guy, and the little guy is going to explode in 2019 and then quickly die. And the reasons are basically what I've told you about Google releasing their own platform, and, you know, some of these big makers struggling or changing their direction. And, you know, when you talk about a company like Amazon producing as many products as I think they're going to in 2019, you're just not going to have a lot of room for these little guys. So we're really going to become a 4-horse race in 2019: Google, Amazon, Apple, and Xiaomi. Speaking of the little guys, this is my last prediction. I'm not gonna, you know, continue here. I could continue probably for another half an hour talking to you about Xiaomi and GE and all of those other makers who are clearly going to bring a lot of products to the table and, you know, work in partnership with some of those other big companies as well. That's clearly going to happen. But the last prediction for you here is on Automate Your Life, we will have our own home automation product, or something that is a companion to home automation products, and we will have that by the second quarter of 2019. So that's my prediction here. That's for myself, and it gives you a little bit of insight into the ways I'm thinking about the market as well. So there you have it, everyone. I hope these predictions will help you. And if you have questions about specific things I've said in this, or you just want to challenge me, go ahead and challenge me. These are predictions. They're obviously not going to be 100% accurate, but if there's something you're seeing and you want to strike up a conversation, please go ahead, leave them down below. And of course, join up on the channel to see those predictions either come true or for me to eat crow. So thanks again, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you next time.